What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Benfica Podcast, episode number 235. On tonight's agenda, we're going to look back at the Dortmund game. We're also going to take a look at Benfica's game at Stade de Luz this past Monday, which was yesterday as we record this, against Bolnes. And we'll look ahead to Paços Ferreira before Benfica takes a break for international play. With me tonight, Steve Santos. What's going on, Steve Santos?
You know, it's a night with my favorite three gentlemen, Mr. Cristiano Oliveira, Mr. Alfredo Fumaças, and Mr. Elijah Craig. Bourbon, baby. Bourbon.
What's up, Christian?
I don't know. He threw me for a loop there real quick. I was wondering who the third
that
guy
three,
was.
where was the third guy, right?
And then even after he said Elijah, who? I was like, ooh, it must be his imaginary friend. But
every once in a while, Steve's got to try to be funny. It doesn't always succeed, but you know.
I thought he had somebody in the room with him when he said that.
Honest, for a second, I thought it was an imaginary friend. I don't know. I was just.
He's on my shoulder here, guys. Yeah. He's on my shoulder. He's telling me all those tactical things to say.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
All right, let's get right into it. Benfica played Dortmund in the second leg of the Champions League knockout stages, first round of the knockout stages. Traveled to Germany. I'll give you the lineup. Ederson, Semedo, Luizão, Lindelof, and Eliseu across the back. Samaris, Almeida, and Pizzi in the middle. Salvio and Servi on the wings. And Mitroglou as the lone forward. Steve, no surprise here that Rui Vitória went with the three guys in the midfield.
No, we were calling it. Most of us thought or maybe wished that it was going to be Felipe Augusto who was going to be fit enough to play. But it ended up being Andre Almeida, and I would have loved to see the look on Chris's face when the lineup came out, because we all know how much he loves Andre Almeida in midfield.
Chris.
What's up?
What'd you think of it?
Listen, man. Listen, it's one of these things that I could go off on a rant here, and I'm really trying not to, but it annoys the heck out of me that it happened with the previous coach. It happens with this coach. It happens, just so happens that it's always my freaking Benfica. Every time we play a big match, we go in there like a bunch of wussies, right? We change lineups. We adapt David Luiz at a left back, as a striker, and we adapt this guy. We adapt that guy. And it just gets so freaking annoying because it never works. It never works. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why in the hell will you tinker with the lineup? Why don't you put your strongest lineup out there and see what happens? I mean, I'm trying real hard not to go off here. But it's annoying as heck when Benfica, in my opinion, does not go into these competitions with the strongest lineup. It seems to me that they're content in just getting to where the hell they're getting at. And okay, and right now let's piece everyone together because it doesn't really matter. We can't win this game. God forbid we hold on to this 1-0 result. God forbid we score on the road, and God forbid we advance in the Champions League and make some more money because we want to make sure we stay ahead of Porto and win the Tetra. This is, to me, it's just, bro, just ask Steve another question because I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to mute myself.
All right, vamos por partes, right? So we played with our strongest lineup in Lisbon, and the result was the way it was. Obviously, there was some Rui Vitória identified some of our weaknesses. There was an adjustment made in the second half in Lisbon, and Benfica played a little better in the second half. Now, that adjustment included adding a third guy to the midfield. So it makes sense that with a 1 lead, then Chris, trust me, I understand where you're coming from, but with the 1-0 lead, it makes sense that you line up a team where you could create problems in the build-up for a Dortmund team that's very strong in the middle.
That's fine, but it's still not the strongest lineup. I don't care what anyone says. If Jonas is fit enough to play 40 minutes, 35 minutes, he's fit enough to play 80. Okay? He could have started. Don't tell me it's our strongest lineup. You want to tell me they adapted, they try to clog up the middle because we saw what happened in the first game where we gave away tons of possession and Dortmund did what the hell they wanted, free will with the ball. I get it. That's fine. Go with that. That's fine. Don't tell me it's our strongest lineup. Don't tell me it's adjustments he made. Because when you have your best players on the bench, to me, that you're not making any adjustments. You're just a pussy.
Well, I mean, I have to agree with you with some of the guys that were left on the bench that could have made more of an impact. But I think that the focal point was in the middle and was clogging up that space. So I don't know if Jonas would have been the right choice because he really needed guys to chase, needed guys to occupy spaces. He needed guys to clog up the middle. And I don't know if Jonas would have been the right decision.
He also needed guys to hold the ball up top, like we talked about in last week's podcast. We talked about key things going into the game, and I kept mentioning Jonas. And then midway through the power, like, well, we're not even sure if he's going to play or not. But we kept talking, at least in my estimation. I thought that Benfica needed someone to play with their back to the goal, someone that had the ball and let the rest of the team pull up and he'd be able to spread it around, get everyone involved. And he didn't do that. He didn't do it. I mean, Andre Almeida, fine. That's great. He clogged up the middle. I mean, did he? I mean, he was there. He happened to be there. But it's I understand Feja was hurt. I understand his options were limited. But I get upset when you have your strongest lineup available, and they were healthy, okay, with the exception of Grimaldo. I think everyone else is healthy. Feja, I'm sorry, Grimaldo and Feja. Everyone else is healthy, what you would call your top lineup. And you chose to bench them.
Chris, what would have been your choices, man?
I said it. I said it the week before. I said it the last week. I would have loved if Jonas was hurt. Listen, I wouldn't be sitting here arguing. Okay, I couldn't. I wouldn't have an argument. But the fact that Jonas came in, played 30, 35 minutes, whatever it was, I guess he was fit to play. So why not go in there with your strongest lineup from the get? I mean, Jonas is your best. I don't care what anyone says. Jonas is Benfica's best player. Why is he starting on the bench for the first 60 minutes? And then they score a goal. Then they score a goal in the second half. It's 2-0. Right now, Benfica sure as hell needs a freaking goal. And he's taking his time. We'll make our subs when we before he blinks. It's 3-0.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, we don't know how healthy Jonas really was. We don't know if
healthy enough to play 35 minutes.
The context of this game is very different. The context of this game is very different than the games we play in Portugal. You watch this game and Benfica is a lot better prepared and plays Dortmund in a way. Yeah, we lost 4-0. This is why the scoreline in this game means so little.
It aggravates me.
It means so little, though, Chris.
No, I know, but that's what I'm trying to. I'm agreeing with you in a way.
Benfica played a game of.
I'm agreeing with you, Steve.
I know.
It aggravates me because the scoreline, to me, at least in my mind, doesn't tell the truth of what happened in that game.
Doesn't reflect the same way.
Yes,
we won 1-0 at home. We were played off the park. We lost 4-0 in Dortmund. For the most part, we were played off the park, but for a good 30 minutes, we were competing while it was still 1-0. And Benfica was playing in a way that they were not allowing Dortmund to play the way they wanted to play. There was a very strict plan on the way we were blocking the passing lanes for the center backs to find their interior midfielders, to find that American kid. There was a plan that was working. It would be either Servi or Salvi was going out to the right or left center backs. Mitroglou was blocking Weigl. Not the rare occasion, something that I didn't like actually. Servi or Salvi sometimes, because their fullbacks were playing so high up the pitch, were playing really far back, and then it was Pizzi or Almeida who was going out to press the center backs, and that kind of was the way that they found their ways in, because it left a bit of a gap where you were able to play the ball in. But for 20 to 30 minutes, we had a lot more control and a lot more say in the game than we did in 90 in Lisbon. And you could say, okay, we didn't play with our best 11. I will agree. There was better guys on the bench than ones that started the game. For starters, Salvio. Could have been Zivkovic, could have been Rafa for me. But we had players that, given the context of the match and given the preparation and the way we were going to have to play this match and the way we were going to have to suffer, might have had a better understanding of what we needed to do. Servi has come from Argentina, and we've said time and time again, has really taken an understanding of the European game and has not really been out of place or looking naive for the most part, and that's what Rui Vitória was playing with. I know what you guys are saying. I know how you're going to go to expect to win a game if you're not playing your best 11.
Steve, even with Servi.
In Jonas, if you play, listen.
But even with Servi, right?
Where do you put Jonas?
Listen, real quick. Let me explain. Even with Servi, right? Everything you said, you're correct. The guy's adapted. I understand. He understands the concept. Yada 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 yada. There's still a guy that hadn't started a game, and God knows how long. He barely played. I mean, there was question marks as to whether he'd been in the doghouse. And now all of a sudden, the guy miraculously starts a Champions League game, a decisive game. All of a sudden, now he's good. He's not fit or trustworthy or whatever. Rui Vitória doesn't count on him. Right? But all of a sudden, in this game, he leaves Zivkovic, who I don't care. He's a better player than Servi every single day of the week. Okay? Leaves him on the bench.
But the context of the game suits Servi. And that's what I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying you don't have valid points. I'm just saying, sitting in Rui Vitória's chair, I could see his ideas when he chooses his 11. He chooses it based on the fact that he knows he's not going to have the ball, so he has to play the players that he knows are better prepared to play without the ball.
Bro, I don't want to sit here and be repetitive and repeat some of the videos that have been swirling around on social media.
I've seen them.
See, because for those of you that have listened to the pod, you know I've been saying that for a while now. Okay, I don't need to watch that video in order for me to have that opinion. I've had that opinion for a while. And what aggravates the crap out of me is that every single time Benfica plays Porto, Sporting, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, I get it. Bayern Munich is, even though we played well, but it was a team that, okay, you know, everything had to come off perfect in order first time. That's fine. But I thought we were in the game, in a second game, all right? Out of the first 5 minutes of that game, okay, they came out like guns blazing. Benfica were a little shell-shocked. They were surprised, yada, yada, yada. After that, Benfica grew. You could tell. The more the game went on, Benfica grew with confidence. They started getting the ball. Yeah, it still wasn't possessing it 60-40 in their favor, but at least they had the ball. They created plenty of opportunities. I thought they had the better 30, 35 minutes of the first half. This is a game. That's why it hurts me, because that score, like you said, that scoreline doesn't tell exactly what happened in this game. But the thing that aggravates me, Steve, and it's not you, and I'm not pointing it at you, but it's just one of these, aggravations that I've had, I carry inside me for a while, which is every time Benfica plays a big game, right? And Rui Vitória goes defensive, and Benfica gets outplayed, and then sometimes they find the lucky goal and they win. At the end of the day, the objective is to win. I get it, fine. But every single time that Benfica does this, everybody always, oh, you understand the game. I mean, what about Benfica's going out there and playing with their best 11 and say, you know what? Yo, we lose 5-0, we lose 5-0. Who cares? But we're going to go out there with our best players. Stop coming up with excuses every single time we play a big game. And then you come out, you play Belenenses, and you spank them 4-0. Like I said last week, 4-0 mais nada, right? Which is expected. Everybody wants to go goo gaga. But then when the games that Benfica plays against professional players on the other side, oh, let's come up with an excuse. And I'm not saying you, Steve, and I'm sorry. We just happen to be talking. And I know I get to talk a little louder, but it just happens I'm having this conversation with you, because if I was having with someone else, I'd be talking the same exact way. So, but it's every single time that Benfica gets outplayed by a better team, it's always, or a better, whatever, a big team, big name team, it's always, you have to understand the game. Oh, this guy, that. But yet, the best players sit on the bench, where the opposition doesn't have that same respect for you. They throw their best out there. They ain't scared. Yo, you know what? We're going to put our best against your best. Now, we look great against Mongols. Everybody's excited. It takes a lot more than that to please me, I guess.
But Chris, even Mourinho goes to the new camp and parks the bus, dude. It's all within the context.
Now, here's the thing. I can speak within context for Dortmund, and I could give Rui Vitória the benefit of the doubt for Dortmund. But for the other two in our league, I have a big problem with it too, just like Chris does.
Alfredo, you want a context? I'm going to give you the context, guys. And for anyone listening, it's very simple. Very, very simple. Pay attention and thank me later. It's not the concept of the game or in the context of the game or whatever it is, Alfredo. You know what it is? It's the Portuguese coaches' mentality. All Portuguese coaches are scared. They're scared. Every single one of them. Jesus will be winning 1-0. All of a sudden, everybody track back with a way better team than the opposite. And we find a way to lose a game. It's just the Portuguese coach. Jardim, Jose Mourinho, everybody, Fernando Santos, even Scolari, you Benfica, and that motherfucker when it wasn't even Portuguese. It's the Portuguese mentality, dude.
There's a few out there that aren't the same way.
Chris, I mean, you've been saying this since what? Since the World Cup, when we were doing podcasts for the World Cup, I think. You've been saying this that
I've been saying this before that. I mean, yeah. So you
for them since was maybe that's what the Portuguese mentality. I think by nature, I think Portuguese people have an inferiority complex.
It worked one time with Fernando. Don't call me telling me it worked for Fernando Santos. It worked one time in our history. No. I'm just saying if people want to go there, it worked one time.
I'm saying that you have mentioned before that with Fernando Santos, it's defend. You've always said that to me for as long as I can remember. So, I mean, but that's just maybe that's something cultural. Maybe it has to do with the culture, the fact that Portuguese people have an inferiority complex. And whenever they go out of their country, there's a certain thing that keeps them from being more ambitious.
Okay, what's Vitoria's excuse for in country, in same city, in the Lisbon Derby?
I mean, we could go on forever with Vitoria, but that's for another podcast. Actually, it's been for every single podcast that we've recorded since Vitoria took over. But I think that everybody that listens to the podcast with regularity knows how we feel about Vitoria. Regardless,
if you guys remember, go back to last year. Go back and listen to last year's podcast of Benfica. Was it last year or the year before? It was either, I don't recall. I know I went off on one of these rants as well, one of these tangents on the podcast. It was either Benfica. I think it was Zenit. It was Zenit when Benfica had the lead going into the second game, and everyone was talking about, so Benfica played this year, they played that. And I went off and I said, yo, Benfica, if you want to claim to be one of Europe's biggest, you got to go out there and you come to play. You show respect that you're Benfica, and that's the mentality that I want. You understand what I'm trying? I want that same mentality. We're Benfica. I don't care. We're playing Juventus. Fantastic. We're playing Madrid. Great. We're Benfica. We're going to go out there with our best against your best. Yo, you beat us. You know what? I'd rather go down with my best than go down with guys that I'm always going to be second guessing. Like, I love you, but you're not my first choice. And that's just, I want that mentality. That's what I want. I want that.
Right. Okay. Well, but getting back to the game, I was really not surprised, but I was encouraged to see that the early goal that Benfica gave up in the 4th minute didn't really detract from the strategy. On the other hand, it seemed that the team was coming more out of their shell. They were playing out of the back. They were finding combinations and getting into the final third of Dortmund. But now, then all of a sudden, it's a 1-1 game. And Dortmund is thinking, well, now they got to come out. Now they got to change. So it's going to open up before us. And I thought that Benfica finished the half pretty good. The second half, Benfica was out of the tunnel, was the first team out of the tunnel, which always shows a little bit intent of wanting to resolve the game. But really, I mean, Dortmund right away, they pressured us. Just like they did in Lisbon, and that was all she wrote. And even after they scored the goal, they kept pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing to kill the game, and they did kill the game. So I thought that Benfica had a good first half. The second half left a lot to be desired, and it's like you said, Chris, there was some substitutions that could have been made that weren't made, that maybe should have been made earlier. But I think that overall, Benfica could have been a little bit more ambitious. I'm with you.
100%. 100%. And I'll say this, and I think I'm going to surprise Steve if I haven't surprised him with some of my comments so far. I thought Benfica had, like I said before, not fantastic, but a really good first half, especially after giving up that goal. And I think a lot of it was in part to do with Pizzi's play. I thought he played.
And Nelson Semedo too was really good.
I thought Pizzi's. Semedo made a lot of runs. He lost the ball also a lot of times. He was out of place. But to me, Pizzi was the one player that kept the lanes, that kept everyone together. I thought he had a spectacular first half. In my opinion, I thought he had it because he was coming back, getting the ball, getting rid of it quickly. Yeah, once or twice he messed up, but I thought he had a really good game because he wasn't scared like we've seen in big games. He disappears. I thought he was like, all right, I'm here. Let's go. Where in the second half, I mean, the guy he went missing. I don't even recall seeing him on field.
Benfica got suffocated in the second half.
In
the first half, Dortmund, I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't pressing as tight as they normally do, and we were able to come out of the back with the ball controlled, which in the second half I don't think we ever did. So it's a big difference. But hey, man, Chris, you're not going to like this, and I say it all the time. This is the point. We get here with the budget that we have, and we cannot be too disappointed by not going past this point, because we're always going to find teams that could spend a lot more than us and that have a lot more quality than us. If you measure player for player, 11 versus 11, it's going to be very difficult for our players to make it into their squad. How many guys make it? Ederson, Semedo, maybe. Aside from that, who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, you might shoe in Lindelof in there, maybe.
I don't know, man. Bartra for me is just as good as Lindelof. And maybe unless you put Lindelof on the Greek side, guys, the guy on the Greek side, the Greek side. Socrates, yes, him, maybe there. But aside from that, it's very difficult. The difference in quality is comparable. Maybe not as bad, but it's comparable. Of Benfica going to Dortmund is like Bill Nitz going to the Stade de Luche.
Oh my God,
dude, it is.
Oh my God,
it is that different.
Benfica has players that will eventually go on. Today could play on some of the biggest teams in Europe today. All right, Semedo don't have a guy that could play anywhere near that level. Not one. And don't give me the kid Duarte from Sporting, like all the Sportingese on Twitter. Go Google Gaga, because he makes a good pass.
Oh, at Bulnes. She's comparing it to Bulnes.
Oh, my bad. Yes, my bad.
Yeah, but all right. So let's get into this conversation real quick, and I don't want this to be dragged on. So game's done. But here's the thing, and I think this is something that you and Patrick Kendrick went back and forth, where it seems, and it's the reality, it's been established, and I think that it goes along with the initial goals for the season. Benfica's goal for the Champions League is to make it out of the knockout stages. I believe your understanding and your belief is that Benfica should be aiming for much higher than that.
There's nothing wrong with aiming for it. There's nothing wrong with going into these games and a game, again, that Benfica had an opportunity. If Servi puts away that ball on top of the box by himself, I'm telling you, it would have been a totally different ball game. And that's what believe in yourself. Go out there, guns blazing. What do you have? If you're already content, if in your mind you're defeated already, like, I got out of the group stage. Whatever I do next is cake, it's whipped cream on top of the cake, whatever, cherry on top of the sundae. Then, even more so why you should go out there with the attitude that I'm talking about. Because you know what? You lose. Hey, who cares? We've made it as far as we wanted to go. What's wrong with being ambitious? What's wrong going out there? Okay, we play Real Madrid and they're slapping the crap out of us and it's 5-0 in the first 30 minutes. I understand pushing everyone back, guys. I totally understand. I'm not going to be telling it's 5-0. You lose 7. No. But when you're in a game in Dortmund, okay, which Dortmund is a good team. It's a good team. We're not talking about a superpower, okay? It's not one of the top 4, 5, 6 teams in the world. It's a really good team. I get it, but we give them way too much respect. We put away one of those chances on a free kick. What's his name? Luizão straight at the keeper. A little bit more to the side. It could have been a different game, and that's what hurt me. And that's the attitude that I want. You can't be content with just coming out of the group stage and sitting here and coming and Luis Felipe Vieira and everyone else coming to TV and claiming that we're one of the biggest in Europe and we're gonna win European Cup one year under my command and this is what you do. You can't do that.
Cristiano, do you think that realistically Benfica has the budget to compete with all the big sharks?
Alfredo, it's look again. If it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, even Manchester United, and freaking Bayern Munich, fine. They tell me they don't have the budget. Yeah, do they have the budget to play against Paris Saint-Germain? No, but could they beat them? Absolutely. Did Benfica have the budget a couple years ago to beat Juventus and move forward and progress to the final? No, they didn't have the budget, but they did it. You understand? Look, a lot of teams don't have budgets to compete with the Manchester Uniteds and the Chelseas, but they still do it. They don't just say, you know what, we're gonna go out there with our B squad and see what happens. And that's my point, man. You have a built-in excuse. You go out there with your top lineup, you lose, you say, hey, man, look, we tried. Hey, we can't beat those guys. Hey, you're not going to look like an asshole for losing. So why not go out there with your best, with your plan, with your number one plan, your best players? Bro, you can't claim, right, like Luis Felipe Vieira does all the time on BTV and all this crap, that Benfica é dos gigantes europeus, uma equipa com uma linda história. Well, if you want it just to be about your history, that's fine. Just stop telling me you're one of the biggest in Europe, because if you're going to go based on that, if your argument is that I can't compete with today's Sharks because of my budget, then don't tell me that you're one of the giants in the world, because then go based on budget. You're not. I mean, I think every single team in the EPL, every single team in the EPL, 1 through 20, has got a bigger budget than Benfica. Does it mean that Benfica is not better than Crystal Palace? Does it mean that Benfica is not better than Sunderland and Bournemouth? And yeah, they're still better, but they still got a bigger budget.
Yeah, a fair shout.
Fair argument. Lose 1-0, lose 5-0. I get it, especially since you've met that objective. The objective is to get out of the group stage. They met it. They could have approached it in a different way. But we've never seen Rui Vitória approach a big game in a different way. So,
and that's aggravating.
Yep.
No, I agree.
It's aggravating from Benfica too, guys. It's aggravating when the message from the club is that they're one of the giants in Europe. They keep force-feeding that. The Benfica, maiores clubes do mundo. All this, and that. And then you settle.
Chris, but because of also that, it also leaves you with a bit of a fear of going out and getting blasted. That's another thing.
Bro, so what, you telling me that teams that wait, every time I speak to other fans, right, that don't really follow the Portuguese league, they saw 4-0, Steve. What, that's pretty?
No, I'm not saying
they're laughing
pretty.
as is. So 6-0 to
4-0. Like we said earlier, the scoreline didn't reflect that closely what happened in the match. So
I mean,
we can talk about this for the rest of our lives.
All right, well, let's move on. So the biggest thing right now is to see if this match left any mental scars for Benfica, and as we saw against Belenenses, it didn't. The other thing was that I was very encouraged by that those 30 minutes of the first half that Benfica played, where Benfica was able to do combinations. I hadn't seen that from Benfica in a while, so it's encouraging to know that that's still there. The other biggest thing is that Portugal drops to 7th place in the coefficient. That means in the 2018-2019 season, only the champion will get an automatic berth in the Champions League. The second place team will have to play a third round qualifier in order to make it. So,
and third place.
Right.
Third.
No, I don't know if third makes it. From what I read, it's only second.
Second and third have to play for whatever the. I lost my train of thought right now because I was thinking
Pre-qualifiers.
Yeah, they have to play the pre-qualifiers. Yes, and just last point on the budget and Portuguese teams competing with these Sharks and all this, right? With Benfica and Porto both being eliminated in this round, this is the earliest a Portuguese team has been knocked out of the Champions League in 15 years. In 15 years. Which means as bad as the budget was, which means as bad as the clubs were, whatever, yada, yada, they still found a way, Porto, Benfica, they found a way to get out of this round, at least make it into the next round. This is the worst they've done in 15 years. That's just a Portuguese thing in general.
Well, just the Portuguese teams in Europe.
In Europe or Champions League?
Champions League.
Well, I mean, in Europe too was a pretty forgetful year for all the Portuguese teams.
But what about the teams that don't even, like, we didn't come out of the group stage a couple times? How does that count? Like, and then Porto, I guess, made it.
Yeah, Porto. Yeah, I'm talking about
Porto made it past.
Yes. They're Portuguese. Yes.
Okay.
Right. So anyway,
Sporting. You know what I mean? It's only Porto.
Right, so coming out of the Champions League match, everybody was looking to the Belenenses match at the Estádio da Luz, which happened yesterday as we record this. And I'll give you the lineup. Ederson was in goal. Luizão and Lindelof were the center-back pairings. Almeida and Eliseu were on the wings of the defense. Samaris and Pizzi in the middle. Salvio and Zivkovic are on the wings. Jonas paired up with Mitroglou up front. So as I mentioned, everybody was looking to this game for some to see how the team would react, and I thought the team played pretty well in the beginning of the game. 12-minute goal by Almeida on a fluke by Miguel Rosa. But after that, Benfica just took their foot off the accelerator, and they let the Bolnitz kind of be around. And it's a problem that we've had and that we've talked about here time and time again, that Benfica is no longer that role compressor that we've known these Benfica teams to be known for, always going after. This is not a typical Vitória team, is not that role compressor anymore.
No. We had some moments, I think, maybe November, December of this year, where it looked like we were getting there. We were keeping teams pinned back like we were in the beginning of this match. Let's not take that away from them, but we were trying to do that throughout the course of the game, but that has really disappeared. I mean, the moment we score a goal, it seems like we want to control the game by just controlling the opponent instead of controlling the ball and controlling what happens with the ball. We just want to control the opponent, and then we struggle. That being said, Bolnitz came and played at us, and with the players that they have, they made us look quite poor at times. But in the same way that they were being expansive and open, whenever we got the ball, we were able to beat them and come in between lines and connect play. We're missing a little bit of quality in all areas of the pitch to make the difference count up until the second goal went in. And when the second goal went in, it got a little bit easier for us. But in the same way that we contested the match in Dortmund for 25 to 30 minutes, Bolnitz did the same with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and look, I don't want to take anything away from Bolnitz. I thought that their posture and their attitude is commendable to be able to come out and play olhos nos olhos, as they call it, with Benfica. But by the same token, there's a lot of things that are bad in this Benfica team. I mean, you look at Samaris has come in for Fesa, and he has improved just a smidge. But there's so much that he is, by his play, the way he plays, there's so much that's affecting this team, and it's really exposing this team to be countered on, to be put in situations where there's mismatches, where there's more attackers than defenders, and with a team that's more effective than Bolnitz, this is going to cost us dearly. And if you guys doubt what I'm saying, just go to lateralesquerdo.com and check out a video of everything that they have there, explaining every single mistake that Samaris makes.
Listen, Feja is huge defensively for this ball club. Okay, makes a tremendous difference in the middle of the field. They have a subpar left back, a subpar center back, and a very good, probably to me, I put him right up there with any right back in the world, attacking wise, but still there's questions regarding his positioning, his defending at times with Smithu. So you could tell their defense at times, aquela merda tá toda banana. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I love Luizão. And Luizão, for me, he'll definitely be one of, on my list of my favorite capitães of Benfica, my favorite players of Benfica. I would put a bust, and I'm afraid we talk about this all the time. I'd put a bust of his in a museum and stuff like that. But this is a player that he's still serviceable. He's still a really good player in the Portuguese league. But when it comes to European nights like we saw in Dortmund, this is a guy that Benfica should have had a replacement for already. And they haven't done so. Jardel hasn't been the same. Even Lindelof has not been as good as he was last year. So defensively, there's a lot of holes in this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't disagree with that. There's a lot of flaws in this team, as we've been saying, but we keep on winning, and once we keep on winning, cures all.
Contra Monks.
Right. I mean, the biggest argument another team's fan is going to have is that, who have you beaten?
Listen, I tried to save you guys 2 hours last week. I told you, 4-0 mais nada. You should have just went on about your business. I mean, look, this is a team that Benfica, whether they played great or not, it's still a team that Benfica should be 4-0, especially at home. Every single time they play, Benfica had their chances. Belenenses did have their chances. Got to tip your cap to them. They did attempt to come forward. They were a team that obviously much smaller than Benfica. They weren't afraid to come forward when they had their chances. And I'm pretty sure the budget is pretty huge between the two of them. But they weren't afraid to come forward. And so,
And what was the outcome?
4-0.
Same as ours.
Não compara, Steve. Por favor.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. Just look at it.
No compara, Steve. For me, there's no comparison whatsoever.
Yeah, man. I mean, but you got you got that Mitroglou goal that comes off a ball on the post.
That after, the timing of that was killer.
And the Jonas goal was offsides.
Yeah,
the Jonas goal, Mitroglou was offside.
Mitro's offside. Yeah.
The Jonas goes offside. I mean, so yeah, we did win. And it's another.
Jonas could have scored the other one too, but he tried to get pretty around Cristiano, and he kind of shanked it. So that would have been the fourth. But either way.
Yeah, so the 4-0 is really not indicative of what went on in the game for the most part of the game, I would say. But it is what it is. We get another win, and now we got Paços Ferreira, a very tough trip going up to the Mata Real to play Paços Ferreira, as I mentioned. Paços Ferreira is currently 14th on the table, 26 points from 6 wins, 8 ties, and 11 losses. At home, 5 wins, 5 ties, and 2 losses. They've only lost to Sporting and Moreirense at home. And aside from the big 3, only Chaves have less defeats at home than Paços Ferreira. So quite an impressive record of not losing games at home. Last 5 at the Mata Real, 4 wins for Benfica, 1 loss. And the last 10 head-to-head, 8 wins, 1 tie, and 1 loss. Paços Ferreira is currently on a 4-game streak without tasting defeat, 1 win, and the last 3 games were 3 ties. Steve, this is a Paços Ferreira that's, kind of towards the bottom of the table. Not really the Paços Ferreira that we're used to seeing, always up there in 7th, 6th, 5th place. But nonetheless, going to the Mata Real, playing in a narrow pitch is always difficult for Benfica. What do you think?
Oh, it's a scary game, given the fact that the way we played against Feirense just a few weeks ago. It's a game that we have to treat like a final, like we've said earlier. But it's a game that, given the mindset that the team is in, I don't feel super confident about. But we've done this before. I mean, last year we were winning games, game after game after game, but I never felt super duper comfortable. So it could happen again.
It's the Rui Vitória special.
It's the Rui Vitória special.
Cristiano, save us 2 hours, bro.
Opa, vamos ver. 2-0. Vou dar 2-0. 2-0 Arrasca, gol do Pizzi e gol do Mitroglou outra vez, because it seems that the whole Benfica team's trying to set up Mitroglou, so I'll say he scores another one. Mas são fraquinhos, pá.
He is chasing Bastos, but I don't
Bastos scored 4 this week and missed a 3rd penalty, so I don't think I think it's going to be hard to catch. They have nothing else to play for. All they have to play for is to set them up. Let them get, because to them it'll be a championship in their own right. Bruno Carvalho will claim it a couple years from now if he wins the top goal scorer.
Yeah, absolutely. That and beating Benfica, ruining Benfica's championship.
It's still there. It's still there. A lot of people, don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. A lot of people are talking about this game at the Estádio da Luz, Porto Benfica, the jogo do campeonato. Sporting still will have a say in this. So even if Benfica wins that game, Sporting will still have a way to get and mess things up if they. Is
it the last game of the season we play Sporting?
No.
But it's close to the end?
No. It's not the last game of the season. I think it's 4 games before the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I would have to check the calendar. After the Paços Ferreira, we have an international break, so we'll give Benfica Lab an extra week to work on all the guys that are suffering from injuries. I hope that
Benfica does not go to the Serbian national team. Yes, I know we were just saying that. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. Also, Grimaldo, from what we're hearing, he's closer and closer to be able to train with the whole team. couple other guys were a little worried about Lindelof. Finished the game complaining from his ankle. No word from Benfica on whether or not there was something serious. Semedo apparently nothing serious from what BTV was saying. But you never know with Benfica Lab; these things may turn out into something major. So we got the week off, and then we got the Porto game.
Before we go on, just keep in mind Carrillo, which I don't care, but Pizzi, both of them, Pizzi and Carrillo, if they get a yellow against Pasfre, will miss the Porto game. So they don't But we've seen in the past where Vitória plays the guys regardless. But I just wanted to mention that.
Well, Pizzi's been playing like that since before the Braga game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because I know at that time there was a conversation about it.
Yeah, it's been a while that he's playing on his fifth yellow. So I don't know, but if you ask me, the guy looks tired. In that same Lateral Esquerdo podcast blog post, you will see him being very late and very lax on the defensive side of the game. Something he's obviously never been super aggressive or super good at the defensive side of the ball, but it's telling now. I'm thinking the guy's tired. He's saying he's not. I'm sure that there's being tests, but I don't know.
And Steve, please tell me that Bruno and the terrific colleagues of his, please tell me these guys aren't going goo gaga because Horta's back now and Pizzi can sit every game, right? Please tell me they're not. Okay.
No, I think that the other point that they're trying to make on that post is that the fact that Samaris just playing the way he does, he forces Pizzi to cover more ground.
Because he's not disciplined. He makes too many undisciplined runs. Sometimes you don't know where the hell guy's running, and so Pizzi has to cover a lot of groundwork to make up for somebody's lapses.
Yeah. Samaris is both indisciplined with the ball and without.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, I recommend everybody to go to Lateral Esquerdo. That's one of the top posts on there right now about Benfica. And I think there's one on Benfica's midfield, and there's another one on Samaris himself, written, I think, either today or yesterday. So definitely check that out, lateralesquerdo.com or .com. Let's do some Twitter questions. Mo and Jafurst taking over the Twitter questions, but I'll get to one from Daniel in Funt. How do you guys rate the performances of Almeida and Samaris in the last game? Well, I think we've already spoke about Samaris, but Almeida, yeah, I mean, one of the better games from Almeida, I would say. But, I mean, he does benefit from that Abebia from Miguel Rosa. On the goal.
The goal looks good on him because I don't know what Miguel Rosa was trying to do controlling that ball in the box.
He's trying to pass it back with his chest.
Whatever.
That was a terrible attempt at passing it back with his chest.
Whatever he was trying to do, he was sleeping. Almeida's a 7 out of 10 guy, man, or maybe 6 out of 10 guy, and you get that basically every week.
7 out of 10.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too nice. I know you. I know I have a higher opinion
He's a 5
of him than
you know. He's like me. He's like me. You put me in front of 10 chicks, 5 would think I'm okay, ugly, and 5 would think I'm okay, good looking. So I'm a 5, just like him. He's a 5. That's what he is.
He's like middle of the road, Chris.
Yo, listen, just hope you catch the.
It's better than a 4.
Just hope the 5 you catch are fans of his like you. Because if you catch 5 like me, it's not gonna look good.
Yeah. Here's Mo agrees. Same thoughts as 10CO10 on not having best lineup and playing too defensively. Whose coaching style do you favor in contrast? I think then there's no really Portuguese coach that really plays that ambitious attacking football. I don't know, Steve. I mean, I know you're more in touch with some of these guys.
Sousa, if we're looking at Portuguese, Sousa, Fonseca, and Silva to an extent. Those are the 3. JJ also, obviously, but that's not one that we can mention. Vitor Pereira's one out there, but he's in the second league he's in the Bundesliga second league or whatever it's called. There's a reason why he's there. So
I think JJ is the most offensive of them all. Look, he might sometimes tighten up, but out of all those guys you mentioned, he might be the most offensive of them all. I mean, Benfica scoring, setting goal records in Portugal with them. I mean, the guy's you could definitely question some of his decisions also, guys, in big games. Okay? It's just a Portuguese thing. But as far as offensive mind, I think his tactics, I think his system, I think it works the best out of all of them, believe it or not. And I know we can't talk about him, but
Yeah.
Just did anyway.
Here's one. Here's one from Ja First. Anyone else concerned how easily the Bulnes forwards got their heads on some crosses in the second half? Concerned
Concerned how easily Bellin's played
for the past 4 or 5 weeks,
all over the pitch, not even just crosses.
Yeah.
And the way I'm concerned. Period. The end. Not just winning balls in the box is one thing, but when it's all over the pitch and I don't know, I'm concerned.
Ja First is also saying, would it made more sense to start Raul or Jonas instead of Mitroglou in Dortmund for added mobility? I mean, that was an option that we explored.
In hindsight, everything looks so bad because you lost 4-0. How much has Raul actually played the past 90?
He came in like the 80th minute.
But how much has he actually played recently?
He hasn't played a lot. He has not
Mitroglou scoring goals left, right, and center. You figure if you get him one chance, he might put it away.
I didn't mind the whole. I'm sorry. I didn't mind the whole.
There's arguments for everything. That's the thing.
I didn't mind Jimenez off the bench because I thought he was better suited if Benfica did indeed need that goal. He was better suited to go and fetch it and chase it than Mitroglou is. So that one decision I didn't have a problem with. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Mo says, do you think Pizzi plays at Passos? And is saying we should always play our strongest lineup.
It's not about playing our stronger lineup. Let's go based on what Vitória has done in the past. And I think that's more telling than what any of my opinions will tell, which is Vitória has always decided. He's always played those guys. He's always said, and I know Steve was getting ready to say it. The most important game's our next game. And that's the motto he's gone by since he's arrived at Benfica. And unless he changes it this week, I believe he will play.
Sergio Ja First, what are the probabilities that Vitória introduces a wild card in this final 6 to 7 games? Pepe, Guga, or wishful thinking?
We should have just brought him on the pod. I mean,
hey, Ja First, what are the chances that Sporting has of winning the championship this year? That's probably the same chances that Rui Vitória would introduce a new player. I mean, he's played with the same guys week in and week out. I very much doubt that he's going to introduce a wild card.
I think Felipe Augusto has a bigger shot of playing minutes before those two kids. As much as I actually admire the way both of them play, I do not see it happening this year for them yet.
Yeah, and especially if things stay this tight. Come on,
you
bro.
can't. It's difficult.
I mean, not listen. Not only is he not, I can't blame him for not going ahead.
Especially not.
Yeah, Inventari, exactly. Yeah,
especially not in that position either.
Any position, I don't care what position it is.
Anchor midfield. It's very difficult to bring in a kid from the B team and expect him to be able to cope with the pressures that he's going to have to deal with. To play like a kid who's got very high confidence, doesn't care much, and plays behind the forward or plays as a forward is completely different than bringing in a kid from the B team to play at Trinco.
We play kids from the B team if we have no other alternative, okay? Like last desperation, because the best time to introduce young kids, okay, is at the beginning of the season. No pressure. The kids get to adapt. Everyone's still on the same page. Right now, levels of fitness and I mean, so far off compared. It should be at least, the Portuguese, the A team should be from the B team, right? It's just too much to deal with at this moment. So it would not be wise for him to go ahead and try to.
Yeah. I think right now it's when you're driving down a road and you're seeing the needle hitting on the E and you're wondering if you're going to make it for another 30 miles. That's what's going on with Benfica. So Mo also wants to know non-Portuguese coaches. Steve.
No, he's talking about who's more offensive, and we mentioned Portuguese, and that was his point. Non-Portuguese coaches. I mean, come on. There's.
I'm thinking he wants us to name coaches that we'd be interested for Benfica.
No. Go back to that question of the style. What was it? The question he asked before, where we mentioned, where I said JJ's more offensive. That question.
Whose coaching style do you favor in contrast?
Yes, and all we talked was Portuguese coaches, and he goes, no, non-Portuguese coaches.
Yeah. There's a few out there, I guess.
There's a few Spaniards that I like. I think one's actually Argentinian. I'm not 100% sure. The coach at Celta I like.
There's a Chilean dude.
Sevilla. Mm-hmm.
He's not Chilean. He's Argentinian.
Is he Argentinian?
No. The dude that was with Marseille. Santos or Marseille?
Oh,
Isn't he Chilean?
that's
He's
Steve's
Argentinian
boy.
too. Bielsa?
Yeah, he's Argentina.
He's
Bielsa.
crazy, dude.
Bielsa
He's nuts. I want him.
Is
I want
Bielsa
him.
Argentinian or Chilean?
He's Argentinian, and I want him at other clubs so I can watch them play. But I don't want him at my club because he's crazy.
Who's nuts is well, not nuts, but entertaining is Klopp. I mean, he's going to score 4 goals and give up 2 every game, so it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, Sergio, I think that there's a huge disparity from the Portuguese league to European competition, as logic would say. And I mean, this goes back to the point that Cristiano was making before, where Luizão could be very well fine and dandy for the Portuguese league, but when it comes to Champions League, he lacks. But after you play with Luizão week in, week out, you're going to bring a guy off the bench to play in the Champions League that hasn't played in 3 months in Jardel. So, yeah, there's a huge disparity. But I think that there's nothing wrong with building a team and having the tactics and the game plans and the game ideas in place that are going to make you a good team, that you could just pound everyone in the Portuguese league, get to Europe, be very competitive both on the group stages and on that first knockout stage. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I just think that right now Benfica has a team that doesn't really for the Champions League. I mean, and he mentions it too. We struggled against Besiktas and we struggled against Napoli. And I mean, it was fortunate that we were able to get out of the group stage.
I got a question instead of Mo and Sergio. I want to step in here, and I got a question because I saw people mentioning this on Monday. Which Monday? Yesterday. Yeah, Monday. Whenever the hell Monday was. With Smidu not even being on the bench, being injured, whatever it is, left knee problem that he has or whatever. The kid Peter Pereira, whatever his name is, he didn't even make it. He didn't even make it to the start to the bench. What's up with this? Why go get a kid and make so much, hoopla about this kid, and he doesn't even make the bench for a position that Benfica obviously needed. Benfica had 1 defender on the bench yesterday. Not that they needed it, Jardel. Not that they needed it against Valence, but if a kid can't play, if he's not going to make the lineup in a game like this, when the hell is this kid going to play? Or make the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, like I said, we say this all the time. We're not there with them guys day in, day out. We don't know how they're training. We don't know what Vitória thinks of them. We don't know how well they're assimilating the ideas or, lack thereof. But it is what it is. I mean, you got to give the men the benefit of the doubt, I guess. There's one last one, then we'll go. With the international break, which Benfica players make the national team?
Pop sick.
I think just the Portuguese national team or just their national team?
Ederson's been called up.
Sick is not making the national.
Who?
Pop Sick is not making
the
national
dude.
team.
That was a joke, man. That was a joke.
Pizzi is.
Ederson's been called
We'll
up.
have this argument
I don't
again.
think Pizzi gets.
Pizzi doesn't get called up. No, there's so many other options.
Who wants to bet?
Bro, you guys don't pay up your bets.
Yeah.
You, Mo, you guys
hold on a
owe
second.
me. You guys all owe me. Nobody pays
Hold on
up.
a second. I think you owe me. I can't remember what it was for, but I think you owe me.
Well, if you don't remember, I can't remember neither. So let it go.
I would have swore you owed me dinner, but anyway.
Didn't I buy you dinner?
All right.
You did.
It ain't my fault you didn't eat. It ain't my fault you didn't eat.
I think you guys both paid me dinner.
Well, Ederson got called up. Feja got called up even though he's injured.
No, to the Portuguese national team.
I mean, there's
Samidu and Pizzi are going.
There's only 2 Portuguese players on the Portuguese national team, dude.
I think that Smidu goes, man. Smidu has to go.
Smidu's going. Well,
I don't know about Pizzi, bro.
We don't know about Smidu because of his injury. So I think if he was healthy, we don't know how severe his left knee, whatever the problem that's ailing him now. We don't know how severe that is. Well, Steve, it's just Grimaldo was just like 4 months later. It's just we don't know. But we do have a new trainer, a new head trainer, a guy from Barcelona. So we'll see what happens. Maybe he injects them with the stuff that he injects Barcelona players with a couple of years. Barcelona.
All right, buddy. Thank you for checking us out. Benfica.co.uk. At 10co10 is where you can find Chris on Twitter when he's around. At Steve Santos 6. At Benfica Podcast. at Talking to the Doll with D being DA is where you can find my own. BenficaPodcast.com. We're on iTunes. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us there. Also on Facebook and everything else. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. We'll be back next week, I think, to just break down the Paso Ferreira game and probably look forward to the Clásico if it's not too early. Of course, as you know, I will be traveling to Lisbon to watch the Clásico with some of the other fans, Timo, Mo, and a bunch of other guys. And we'll meet up over there. So we don't know, as far as the podcast goes, what's going to happen between next week and then.
I can't make it. I'm going to get called up to the Portuguese national team, so I won't be around. Me and Peasy, we're going to be on the same plane, to the same flight.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot, and talk to you again next week.